Hello, I'm Tanya Alfersi from thewiserwoman.com, and today I want to talk about 5 stages of awareness that can help us alchemize any crisis into something powerful that's going to serve us and everyone around us. Now, this is something that I'm going to be teaching in depth on my upcoming course called Transform Perimenopause and Menopause, but I wanted to make a short video to give you a taster of what's available. So the first stage is to be aware that the term midlife crisis is made up. Okay, there is no biological or scientific basis that makes crises at midlife inevitable. Now, I know we do go through a sensitive time at midlife and we have a lot going on, but the idea that there's a midlife crisis that we can experience was made up by a Freudian psychotherapist decades ago. The term stuck, and the problem with it is that it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So even like a little crisis that we can experience, we can start thinking, oh, this is the midlife crisis, okay? So it's made up term, it's important to realize that, and that can help us have a different perspective on any crisis that we face. So stage number 2 is to realize the landscape that we live in. And the importance of this is to see what's going on in general in society, and that can help us perhaps have some more compassion for ourselves. Now, if we look at where we are today in modern society and compare it to what's gone on in history, we're perhaps the most unhealthy populations to ever exist in what we would call sort of peaceful times. And that's because we eat so much junk food. We are medicated more than any time in history, and because our traditional family structures, which would have given us support, especially at this time when there's so much going on at midlife, have almost completely disappeared for most of us. Now, that being said, we have co-created this environment that we live in, but it is our responsibility to create in our own world something different. Okay, so there's all these conditions that are out there, but we can have a different experience of them. And another condition that I do want to mention is the ease of access to things that could help us numb our behavior, which are not useful. But again, we're so surrounded by them that if we find ourselves doing them, we can have compassion for ourselves and understand that we are just off balance, and we can come back into balance. And so I'm talking about beyond the traditional sort of alcohol, drugs, the endless scrolling, the online shopping, the online gaming, the online gambling, all these things that can lead us to numbing behaviors. And this we may engage in to sort of like cope with a crisis, but it's not going to create an outcome that is going to be empowering or will serve us. So even if we find ourselves there, we can move beyond it. So stage number 3 is really understanding about how the human experience is created. And again, this is something I'm really going to touch on in depth on my upcoming course, Transform Perimenopause and Menopause. But when we understand how we innocently can create stress within inside ourselves, if we find ourselves in a crisis where there's someone else involved, we can often see where they are coming from in their innocence too. Okay, so that is not to say if you are in some kind of abusive relationship or dangerous relationship in your family situation or even in a work situation that you need to say, oh, they're just innocently creating what they're creating and I need to stay. No, you will tap into what's right for you and you will act on that. But so often our crises are caused by the little things, by our reaction to someone else's behavior. And again, through understanding, we can stop the crisis by creating space and realizing that another person is just acting out of insecure thinking, and that thinking will pass, right? It's incredibly powerful. And so we can stop any stage of crisis, any level of crisis at stage 3. But then there's stage 4. And if we are caught up and we've forgotten there's like how I'm innocently creating stress, how they're innocently creating stress, how this can be explosive, we can tune into the feeling. And the feeling guides us as to whether our thoughts are true or not true. And if we're stuck in this land of crazy thinking and explosive thinking and destructive thinking, and we're going into that kind of la-la land, then the feeling that that brings guides us that those thoughts aren't true. Now, I can tell you this 100 times, but until you experience it for yourself, like, it's very hard to tune in to the feeling in that way. But I encourage all my clients to test this and to see, when we feel fear and constriction, is that feeling pointing to something true? Or is it just a guide to show us that we're off a path of harmony and our innate well-being? So that's stage 4. And stage 5 is the stage of alchemy. That when we see that we can alchemize a crisis into something else, we can dissolve it, okay? Or we can create something even greater for us and others from it. This is really empowering and really starts to shift our perspective on everything in life. Now, this video is just a taster, and I'm going to be talking about alchemy in this way for the first time on the course, this upcoming course, Transform. So if this sounds like something you'd like to find out more about, and if you'd like to find out about how you can transform so much more in perimenopause and menopause, I encourage you to check out my course. If you hurry up, you might catch the early bird bonus too. Okay, until next time.